Guten Tag, and welcome once again to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry, the Let's Try program here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian Horner, and I'll be your navigator through today's proceedings as we continue to decal the dinosaur. But before we get into that, we got a few pieces of business to attend to. First of all, if you're watching this, you're able to watch this because of you and the kind support that you give us over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. That's the way that we like to reach directly into your pockets consensually and remove a pre-agreed upon amount of money monthly, giving a little bit of it to, the little P over there. But patreon.com/loadingreadyrun is the way that we like to get help from you. But you can, of course, try other methods like twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun, where we're broadcasting right this minute, and youtube.com/loadingreadyrun, and the panoply of channels we have over there. But there's also one other way you can support us and really support yourself right now. I want each and every one of you to go up to your browser window, open a new tab, and type in store.loadingreadyrun.com, because we are having a sale, and this is probably the biggest sale we've ever had, and I'm going to come out and say this is probably the biggest sale we are ever going to have. So if you have been waiting for something that is currently in stock in our store, get on it. Huge, deep discounts on so many Loading Ready Run items, including the previously exclusive orange Loading Ready Run logo shirt from one of our PAX Australia dalliances. And of course, yes, we have to mention that we've got with me, as always, over in the Crystal Gondola on the Zeros and One, it's Paul.
Hello.
Oh, good to have you with us as always. And before we get into anything else, I did want to also mention that this is a show about projects. Sitting down, doing something that you've never done before, and maybe learning something from it out of spite. And this is really actually an update on one of the longest projects that I've been working on, probably for about 45 years now. That project is me. I'm getting older now. It's my birthday, and I just wanted to remind you to take some time to work on your own project of yourself. We only have one chance at this. We've ostensibly never done it before, and we got a lot going on in front of us. So please. Cheers to you, and cheers to me, and let's get some dino decaling going on.
As we've seen on previous Tinker Tailor Solder Fries, be very careful with the hot air gun around your own face.
Yes. Some parts are more replaceable than others. Fewer on you than there are on most of the things you can hold in your hands. Ow. Speaking of which, yeah, I've had a little bit of cooking accidents recently, so I'm a little bit bandaged up. But today, we will be continuing on with our work of putting decals onto the Stürm Tyrann Zoids model, graciously donated to the studio from A. Wells in the chat. Thank you once again for that. We're a good ways along. We've made some significant holes in our decal sheet. And we're going to finish it up, just have a nice relaxing time. And then once we've got those on, maybe we'll do a little bit of panel lining too. Our good friend, yes, no? Oh, right, this is not the one with fire on it. This one's okay. Just don't eat it.
Panel line. So this isn't just any ink or whatever. This is specifically for panel lining.
Yes, you can make your own if you so choose, because panel line, or at least the Tamiya panel liners, are just an enamel paint that's been thinned down extremely thin, so that it just sucks itself into the small recesses in the plastic. But you can, if you wanted to, with your own enamel paint and your own thinner and maybe a surfactant, do your own. I know that it comes in black, brown, white, and light blue, but yeah. Crosscutter says sometimes you thin or clean it with lighter fluid. You could use lighter fluid. I'm using for my own work Tamiya X20 enamel paint thinner with the blue cap. It's important to know the blue cap. The cap apparently designates what type of thinner. Ooh, that's a big friend. What type of stuff it works with. I think the yellow lid one, which is X20A. I think that's for acrylics, but don't quote me on that right off the bat. Of course, we've also got our decal setting and solving fluids, or solvent, I guess, to... This one makes it stick better. This one makes it all floppy so that the decals get into the ridges.
If it sticks too much, do one. If it doesn't stick enough, do the other one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to get it nice and sticky, and then you want it to go floppy. Use that information as you will. Mm-hmm. And then I brought along the little thing I like to use to wipe away the excess panel lining fluid. You just dip that in your acetone, and then you just wipe away the stuff that's not in the recess.
Is that just sort of a little plastic spudger?
Kinda. It's a plastic bow staff with some little, well, I guess I can pull them off here, little barbed ends on them that hold these bits of very high density foam on the ends.
Oh, okay.
And because they're nice and flat, that means you can very gently go over the line without actually getting into the line. I
like calling it a tiny bow staff.
Well, that's kind of how it was marketed to me. Actually, was this is apparently the bow staff of a MS-07 Dom mobile suit, but made out to be a useful panel lining accessory.
I like the idea of all the actual painting and building tools as if they're from the world in which the gunpla or the model exists in.
Mm-hmm. There's been some small toolboxes I've seen that are made up to look like diegetic toolboxes from the shows.
I mean, we've talked before about how the idea that the actual full-size Gundams are being cut out of
full-size road,
being cut out of multi-story tall sprues, well, with enormous snippers.
I'm not sure. Did we mention whether or not that Richard Hammond on his new series, the smallest cog, which is the name of his shop as well. He did that as railings for his second floor in his shop. He took some old mini part pieces, like the front quarter panel and the door panel, and welded them to appropriately sized pipes and painted them up to look like sprues.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Really nifty stuff. My favorite piece of that sort of diegetic accessoring, though, specifically from Gundam, is the Zaku's use a big ol' axe that they call the Heat Hawk. And one of the knife makers in Japan obtained the license for the Heat Hawk design and made a series of green and a red meat cleaver designed to look exactly like those Heat Hawks. So,
nice.
Yeah, practical too, which is something I always enjoy.
It's nice. There's always that thing of like the thing in the TV show looks cool, but wouldn't actually work in any practical sense. So it's nice to have like a real one.
Well, and the other one too is I come from that generation where the first bits of our merchandise from shows. I'll never forget the first Halloween costume that never forget the first Halloween costume that I remember having. It was Luke Skywalker, and you could tell it was Luke Skywalker because it had Luke Skywalker's face on a plastic bib you would wear.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember Luke Skywalker wearing something very similar to that.
Yes. it's how you fend off predators in the galaxy far, far away. You got to put your face on a.
Yeah, and as we all know, Superman's outfit is a red shirt with the word Superman written on the front.
TM. Actually, now that I think about it, if that is true in the galaxy far, far away, maybe Darth Vader isn't a man at all. Maybe the real Darth Vader is just that black box he wears on his chest. Krang style. All right, we might as well get into it here. I think I've let I hope that I've let the water cool down a bit. First time using it in an insulated mug, and this makes a lot more sense than the usual soup bowl I use in terms of keeping the water warm. Why keep the water warm? Well, that's because it accelerates the delamination and not the delaminate. Well, the delamination is part of it, but the softening portion of the decals. If you get your water, if you're using ice cold water, you're going to have to hold in there for a much longer time. But if you get it too hot, you got to be very quick. So
I will say I have used that particular mug on many occasions, and I have sometimes found it to be too too insulating, to the point where it's actually kind of annoying because your tea doesn't get to a drinkable temperature fast enough.
This has been a problem that I have had for as long as I've had a commute and as long as I've ever used an insulated mug. I've never had an insulated mug that allowed the coffee to come down in temperature enough to drink it, even start drinking it during the commute. So it's just...
You need to it's like a regular or even an excessively thin-walled mug that then has an insulator attached. Once it gets the right temperature, stops. Mm-hmm. Then it starts insulating.
Well, this is why I was so excited for the Ember mugs, which apparently have the technology to keep liquids warm inside them. Because then you can set it at the temperature you like when you're making it, and stick it in.
Is it just like a little USB heater thing?
Yeah, internal to the mug itself, which is I find quite dangerous, especially if you haven't made it crystal clear to everyone in your vicinity that this does not go in the dishwasher.
Also, I mean, if it's anything like the little mini fridges, incredibly inefficient.
Yes. Honestly, I'd love to see one of those devices with a little heat pump in it, so you can keep cold beverages colder or keep your hot beverage hot.
Ooh, yeah.
Like a McDLT. All right. Let's find out where we're at, because you can really go in any direction when you're decaling. Why don't we work on I believe we worked on the feet last time. We got the side pieces there. And I think we finished those, if I recall. Stompy. There we go.
Do mechs have toe beans?
I'm going to say yes, actually. Most of I wouldn't necessarily call them toe beans, but if you look on the bottom, though, most of these mechs, these models these days, do have these sort of, I guess they're supposed to be thruster pods for, when it jumps. And I guess you could kind of technically count those as toe beans or
toe grippies.
Yeah, it's better than the alternative interpretation, which is just one big planter's wart with too much thrust.
That is gross.
Yeah, that would be terrible. I think well, the feet are done, so we'll just set those aside. Let's set them aside over here for now, and let's continue to work on the tail and make sure that it stays intact. We've got most of it done on those two pieces. So we've got, again, the same thing to deal with on both sides there. And then I think there's a top row. Yeah, there's a top row of caution with the little circles on them. So that's going to be great. Let's pop them out. This is... Oh. Oops. Wait, what?
We haven't even done anything yet.
Yep. So I had it upside down, or at least I was looking at it upside down. Now it's fine. But I think I wasn't supposed to put the decal on this piece. They're supposed to be moved down by one. Oh. That's it. I think they look fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if we have any extras, because they usually do give you some extras of certain decals that we can put in there. If not, we can find something when we're done. But yeah, let's deal with the number 10s, of which we have...
This is you're going from the book and the manual here.
Yes, yeah, they do give you a... You really can do the decals in any way you like, but some of them do fit better in some places than others, and I like to follow the manual for a bit. Okay, 10 is this top row here, so let's just get out the knife. This is not a skill or a process thing, but I do personally like to, just for fun, try to keep as much of the decal sheet together as possible rather than letting it separate due to the cuts.
Do you, is it desirable to have as little paper around the decal as possible?
I mean, you can see on the sheet, there's only so much paper that we have anyway,
Right.
but I think it's better to cut comfortably in a way that you know that you're not going to be slicing through any of the other decals,
Right.
because that, if you ruin one of the decals that doesn't have a backup on the sheet, well, then you're going to be sad, especially if it's a big prominent one.
Right, yeah.
But having a little bit of paper is good because it means you can control how the slide works during the water slide portion. Ooh, yeah, I got very close to the edge there.
Ooh, yeah.
In a way that's not great, but I don't think I cut anything. And then let's finish up the cut there.
Because it comes away completely from the carrier, right? You don't end up with any sort of transparent plastic or anything.
I'm going to see if I can get this on camera here so that you can see it, because it's a trick of the light. But
yeah, we can see a little bit. It's sort of the white against the light blue.
yeah, but it's the if you can see, there we go. Just want to tilt it till I can catch the edge of the. They'll use a mask when they're laying down the glue. There we go.
Oh.
So you can see where the actual decal itself is compared to the rest of the paper.
Right, so that shiny area is the rest. There's that shiny area. Oh, I see. You can see like a little. So that shiny area won't come up from the paper.
Exactly, yeah. That'll just soften and become sort of the glue.
Right.
And then the decal itself is just that dull area that you see.
I see. Yeah, you can. It is slightly elevated from the rest of the paper.
Exactly. And lower quality decals will be elevated a little bit more than that as well.
I guess that means the that's like how thin the decal is.
Yeah.
And obviously you want it as thin as possible in order to not be a not be like a lump on the actual thing.
Exactly. You can mitigate it a bit with the when you do another top coat on top, depending on how thick you spray in your gloss coat over top. All right, which one of these is the bad brush? There are 3 potential candidates. I think it's you. Just give it a bit more time in there. I'm gonna pull this back so I'm not reaching so much. This can go out in front.
Did we establish why the last part of the tail is in a slightly different color?
We did not.
Is it a different plastic than the rest?
It is well, boy, now I wish I'd saved the runners actually so I could tell for sure, but I believe that it's just a different color just because it was on, it might even be to highlight that it is a weapon portion rather than just a decorative.
Right, that it is actually it is. They could have made it the same color, and they decided to make it slightly different.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense for it to just be a different color just for fun. Where's my toothpick? Didn't bring my toothpick with me. Oh well, I'll just have to use the brush then, or the fingers. That's right. We're wearing gloves, so we can move things around a little bit better. There we go. That's on there pretty good. But I think if I were painting this, I mean, let's actually even look at the color scheme. Yeah, so it is actually absolutely supposed to be a different color.
Oh, yeah.
Color number 8 versus color number 9.
So one's supposed to be red and one's supposed to be orange.
I guess a little bit red number 1 versus red number 2 is what they say. And the main red is maroon, 47% maroon. Shine red, 44%. White, 8%. And I think that just might be a medium, 1%. And then the other red is red-brown, number 41/H47, 98%. And then a little bit of white for the back one.
What are these? Those aren't Pantone numbers. What is the system that they're specifying in?
They are actually, and it tells you right up here at the top. Let me bring it down so that we can maybe see that. But they give you Mr. Color, and
So Japan has its own color specification system.
well, not color specification system. These are specific brands of paint.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Color are the ones I like using these days because they're they're not Tamiya, but they're GHS Krios, I believe is the company, and the Mr. Color line is their lacquer line of colors.
So is that just? It's one of those things where it's like it's just become sort of a de facto standard.
Yeah, they've been making paints for so long that they've become a standard in the industry for people to use. And then there are actually color lookup conversion tables online. So you can say,
And anybody who is producing paint will compare the color to the. So it's sort of it is a de facto standard, if not an actual standard.
Essentially, and the reason you've got the two of them here is that because one of them is the enamel paints, and then the second one, which is all in kanji that I can now read, is the aqueous hobby color from Tamiya. So if you're painting with acrylics, you use the second option, the H numbering. And if you're going the other route, you go down to your hobby shop and you'll say, okay, I'll need a can of Mr. Color 1, Mr. Color 100, Mr. Color 79, and and then you get the mix from that. This is actually better than the Gundam model I've just been recently working on, which did not tell me which brand of paint to go with, just which color it was. So I think it was. I think they go with Tamiya, but I'm not sure.
I mean, to be honest, I'm surprised with how much they do that they don't have their own line of paints. In the same way that like Games Workshop has their own line of Citadel paints.
Well, they don't have their own line, but they do have a partnership with GHS Krios for their specifically Gundam Color line of subcolor Mr. Color paints. So you can get MS White, Mobile Suit White, MS Blue, or if you're unlucky and MS Blue is sold out, you'll have to go down to Character Blue.
Character Blue?
Yes. Which I believe is there to add character? Question mark? I don't think it's meant to be used on characters. It seems a bit too bright for that. I also messed up and put that in the wrong place, but that's okay because we're freestyling.
I did always love the I don't know if they've changed it now, but the Citadel paint naming system, you have the Bilious Red and whatever.
No, they 100%
Putrid Pink.
100% have continued to give us their the fun names.
It's not just black, it's Chaos Black. I mean, it means just as much as like eggshell or something, right? Like it's, most of the times these colors are not that descriptive, except for sort of internally. You just need a name that everyone agrees on.
And that makes sense when you're, trying to communicate with people. not giving can't remember the brand name, so not going to give a free advertisement. But there's a set of paints that I've got that are very heavily pigmented, and I do love the name that they've chosen for their primary colors, which are the red and the black. The definite article.
Nice.
But you got to be careful with your. Make sure that you've got the right paints. Otherwise, you'll be like me and go back to well, not even stripping, just going back to the primer 3 times, because the gray that you put down is subtly different, but noticeably different than the gray that you've intended to use.
Oh no.
And mixed. I'm actually using this is something I've seen people use this tool for as well, is for this sort of...
to absorb the water?
Well, not to absorb it, but to roll it off, because it is such a good and hard and, importantly, uniform circle. Mm-hmm. So rolling it prevents the possibility of jamming it in a different direction. And if you've moved it out of place while you're getting the water out from underneath it, then that means you need to get more water underneath it again before you can shove it into its correct space.
Right.
All right, now here comes the fun part, which is doing the other side and then constantly checking back to make sure that you've got them in the right position.
Trying to...
Because you want it to mirror, right? Rather than...
Although, but like, you think about, if this was a real thing, and the guy was like, had a big stencil that he was painting it on with,
mm-hmm.
and so he's got to be like running around the tail back and forth to try to make sure he's got his stencil on in the same spot.
I like to believe that these things are at least built in a factory where you can have a little bit of control that way. But I do like those sorts of battlefield customizations. Yeah. Okay, we need 3 more of these, and that means they've given us 2 left potentially.
I always love. There's a great section in the book called The Cryptonomicon by Neil Stephenson.
Yes.
Yeah, but they're talking about it's in the Second World War, and they have a specially designated super secret elite unit that they're putting together that has to what their designation even is has to be kept completely secret. And so they requisition a bunch of vehicles and equipment from other places and have them all together, and they're and the guy who's in charge goes he this is supposed to be secret, and they're like yes, and the designation for this unit, what unit number we are, is also secret. And they're like, yes, you guys repainted all of these vehicles and things. They're like, yeah. And then you threw away all the stencils with just that one number painted. You don't think anybody's going to find that suspicious? That there's like 30 pile of stencils with only one number painted on?
Somebody may be able to piece this together. Yeah, that's negative information. Now that said, I don't think anyone's going to be able to figure out anything about me or this robot just based on which decals are left behind.
Mm.
Though that it's interesting that you bring that up, because that's something that modeled kits, specifically the B Bandai Gunpla, sometimes has to deal with, is that you'll get extra parts that are that don't even have anything to do with the kit that you're building. They're just there because that particular runner is shared between 2 or 3 different kits. And it makes more sense for them to just pump out a bunch of this and let some of the pieces on the runner go to waste, essentially, than it is to do up a separate runner for each individual kit.
Right. So like a long time gunpla builder will have quite a lot of sort of Greeblies extra stuff that you could probably make a whole other gunpla out of all the little extra bits.
Exactly.
I mean, that happens a lot. I know like, Warhammer stuff, if you buy like a 5-unit set, there's often enough arms and legs in there for, 7 guys.
Yep.
But usually they'll be like, there aren't enough heads or something. Like there'll be like one part that makes it so you can't just make more guys.
Yeah.
But then you can, kit bash stuff.
I was going to say that you mentioned the head specifically, which was exactly the opposite for my Tau army.
Oh, really? They give you a bunch of heads.
Yeah, because they include both the helmeted head and the helmet-free head for each, and they give you enough for each guy.
Right, of course. The standard 40K system where the higher, the more senior the unit, the less
armor they've got.
The less head protection they have.
Yeah. And then, of course, thankfully, they did include those, and that was how I was able to find out that, hey, I look a lot like a Tau guy if you dye me blue.
Yeah.
Okay. And this one we've got to put on the bottom, right here, because that's where we put it on the right on the upper bit, because that's where we put it the last time. Right up here, tappy tap.
What do those say? I can't quite read it.
I'm gonna have to get in there. I know that the one down here says extra weapon system, but these ones are.
It's like, if you can read this, you're standing too close.
Outer wing hoist fitting.
Huh. Okay.
So I guess, having it down here is probably not the best place for a hoisting system, but you know what?
It's funny to say, like, tail.
I think the correct thing for this would be unleaded only.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe extra lead.
Yeah. I don't know. This all appears to be energy weapon based, I assume. The little cannon in there.
It's got his little grabby tail.
It is in fact a running joke in the Gundam series that the Vulcan cannons that are included on every Gundam do nothing. They're just useless.
Oh, like in the TV show and stuff, they're always the ones that they're just like fire.
Yeah, they'll start firing and then they'll be like, these aren't doing anything.
Right. Because you have to have the weapon that you start off with to illustrate how much better the cool weapon is.
Mm-hmm. You are entirely correct, because usually what happens is 5 to 6 seconds after they declare those guns useless, that's when the beam saber comes out.
Why don't we start with the beam saber?
The head's too heavy. It's all full of lead.
It's like how Sentai, when the monster appears, they don't just immediately summon their big big Zord and squish it.
Or everyone needs to come individually. Why don't we come in combined to start with? No, I got to do a roll call first. Okay, that's the tail in terms of what they recommend. I guess let's move on to the legs. And I'm learning so much. Hey, guess what, folks? It's a lot easier to manipulate and move this thing around when you take it apart to add things to it. Now, okay. So let's start with the I want to say this is the right leg, also the correct leg. Those two distinctions do matter. Kind of hunkers down. Ooh. Okay, that's how we're supposed to do it.
Ooh, he's got serious knee action.
Yeah. Well, so this double knee is kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of how it works for posing.
Well, that's cool.
And I guess this folds right up if you wanted to.
He can squat down quite low.
25 million years BC and still never skipping leg day.
Yeah, those are pretty substantial legs.
Yep.
Quite the thickness on the legs.
So we're going to need number 14 BF02. Oh, and this is, here's one where wait a minute. No, we do just get 14. The 16 goes elsewhere, I think. Yes, they do. Let's make sure. Yep, 16 goes elsewhere on the body. All right, let's cut out both of the 14s. And the other side is 15, I think. Again, don't want to use a decal that needs to go elsewhere. Okay, 15 is the matching part on the other side. Or 13, I guess. Yes, good. So we'll do both of the leg pieces at the same time so that we know what's up. What's wrong with this leg? Why is it not going? It needs to be like, there we go. It's because I had this piece in the wrong place.
Oh, it's like a little kneecap.
Yeah. That's gotta go in there. Now these pieces look the same. Here we go. All right, start with the cuts and then move on to the actual application of number 14 BF.
Oh, number 14 BF is literally the letters BF.
Well, it's number 14 BF02. And then some other words underneath there that, again, are possibly Berserker Führer, but I haven't checked yet because it's white against light blue, and that's hard to read. You absolutely don't need to use a straight edge ruler to cut these out, but I find it part of the relaxing process.
Well, it does make sure you don't helps you from sort of slipping and cutting something wrong.
But there are, not all decals conform to the ruler, so you will, if you were in this hobby, eventually need to cut something on a curve. And those are times when you do kind of want to get a little bit closer to it, because otherwise, again, trying to move a curved object off of a straight edge and get it in position can be challenging.
It reminds me a little bit of when we're doing a new board game for AFK or whatever. They'll often Ben and I will often spend a fair amount of time popping the little cardboard pieces out of the frames to for all the little tokens and stuff. And I do find it interesting the way there's very precise how much distance you need between each thing, how much they can fit on one, similar to a sprue or the decal sheet. It's like how close can you put these things together? What's the minimum amount of sort of wasted material that we need to have in the carrying sheet.
Uh-oh. I've bound my BF.
Oh no.
There we go. That's nice. And that was me, again, twisting as I was rolling to cause that to happen. There we go. Much better. I was recently popping out a bunch of pieces for a board game as well that I'd purchased a while back that I'm getting ready for play. But this board game was, it wasn't a Kickstarter, but it was a, I want to say not widely published. Not self-published, but not widely published. And so they, rather than using die cuts to cut the individual pieces out of the thick cardboard, they had been laser cut.
Oh.
And so every bag of these things included a piece of information saying, hey, laser cut tokens have a little bit of soot on them, so you're going to need to wipe those off. And by the time I'd finished unpacking all of these tokens, my hands were nearly completely black from the from the soot. They were not kidding. And then I had to go through and with a tack cloth and wipe the edge of all these tokens and pieces down so that
Oh dear.
they wouldn't be too messy.
Because I mean, yeah, at first thought, laser cut tokens seems that'd be great. That's a good idea.
Oh, it's great before not having to purchase and set up and run a die cutting press.
But yeah, the soot along the edges is definitely an issue.
Yep. And I'm not even going to think about how carcinogenic those are.
It's fine.
Keep that out of my mind while I enjoy the game. All right, that was easy. We're kind of on a roll here now, he said 48 minutes into the broadcast.
What are those sort of triangle? They look almost like caution things just under your left hand.
These ones here?
No, just under your. Oh, sorry, under your right hand. I guess.
These here. I assume these are. I assume that the EDB is the Earth Defense Bourse. I'm not sure.
Yes. Earth Defense Bourse.
Or Earth Defense Berserker. I'm guessing what ED are, but I think it's probably a unit or a military insignia of some sort. Same with this sort of. It appears to be the medical snake, but different. I don't think that this dinosaur is here to do healing.
Earth Defense Bros.
Hey, there we go. That's a good one. The model I'm working on right now at home is from a series of Gunpla that are all named after characters from specifically Watership Down.
Are they like robotic rabbits and stuff?
They are not, unfortunately. But one of the, some group of people out there decided as a piece of fan art they were going to draw up little rabbit versions of these mech that roughly, I guess, tie to the characters in the book.
Right. So they made mechs that are named after Watership Down, but didn't look like them. But then other people have made fan art of the mechs. They have made them look like rabbits.
A little bit, yeah. More often like rabbits just holding a sword or a gun or something like that. But they're done in such a style that they're like, I want to say nose or tail art for fighter aircraft.
Oh yeah.
So the idea that then they're meant to be put on your model as well as.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Little fun rabbits.
I love the idea that it's like we need a name that will strike fear and demoralize our enemies. Mm-hmm. You know what was a really sad movie Watership Down.
Yeah.
When our enemies see these terrible killing machines coming, they will remember that movie and they will be super bummed out. Their will to fight will be completely gone.
They will cower before the mighty Woundwort and its her doo-doo.
That will get so very sad.
Haven't seen the movie, honestly. Read the book, loved the book, but I should rectify that film. But yes, for those in the chat who do know, and I know some of you have already pieced together that I'm working on an advanced Zeta kit. It is the Woundwort specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the from the corners of the internet that I engage in. It is the most trans femme coated Gundam made to date. And it looks great.
Do Gundams have gender?
You'd be surprised. Yeah. For the most part, yeah. For the most part, most Gundams are very male-coded, but there are a few Gundam that are coded either femme, but there are a lot of enemy suits that are femme-coded. And a lot of people who will stan a good gendered Gundam.
I'm just sort of I'm imagining the like, standard the ways of when when you have like animate inanimate objects that you're and people try to, or the animators or the artists try to give them gender, just so it's just like a Gundam that looks exactly the same as another Gundam, but it just has like a pink bow on its head.
Well, that's they're in G Gundam. One of the is Cross Hunter points out one of the Gundams, the Noble Gundam, which I believe was the Swiss Gundam in that particular series, is literally just a Gundam wearing a sailor suit. It literally looks like Sailor Moon if Sailor Moon were a Gundam.
They want to make sure that everyone understands that this is a lady Gundam.
Yep.
Or a Gundam that just feels more comfortable wearing a sailor suit.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Is it actually like part of its armor, or is it a regular gun? Is it like a Gundam made out of metal and then has a fabric clothing on top of it?
Yeah, no, this is armor all made to look like it's wearing the armor as a skirt, and it has an armored bow to it as well. So it's not wearing clothing, though other Gundam in that particular series do wear clothing and ride horses that are also Gundam.
Oh, good. I was going to say, if it's just a regular horse, that would be very bad.
I mean, it is also being piloted by a horse, but that's getting a little bit too deep into it. G Gundam was a step to the side in terms of what had come before, but beloved.
Now I just want a whole series of like barn animal Gundams being piloted by those animals.
That would be, I think the closest we've got to that in series canon is Turn A Gundam, which was the one where the main Gundam was designed by Sid Mead, amazingly. That included a lot of farm animals in the show, but so much so that the model kit for the master grade, so the 1 to 100 Gunplas in scale, and they usually come with a little tiny 2-scale figure of the pilot that you can paint up as well. This one, the Turn A Gundam, includes the pilot, but also includes a tiny 1 to 100 scale cow to go along with it.
The cow doesn't actually get its own Gundam, though.
No, unfortunately not.
I want cow Gundams, sheep Gundams, pig Gundams, and not just, a Gundam that is piloted by a person in the form that is designed to look like a cow. I want the cow to be the one in charge.
So essentially, what you're looking for is Jim Davis's U.S. Acres, but with mech.
Yeah, cow Gundams.
All right, I think that's all that goes on the thighs. Oh, yeah, I was going to find out what it says. Yep, BFO2, once again, Berserker Führer.
Should have great, yeah, he could have something better on his legs.
Yeah.
Just like a tattoo, like a thick thighs, no lies, or something.
No thighs for oil. All right, I think we can get one more set in here before we hit a break. So let's go with these little side wings, because that's where the other BF... Does the BF and BF Goodrich stand for Berserker Führer?
Possibly.
I mean, it's...
No one knows.
Yeah, no. Has no one asked? Is that the problem? Oh, we were hoping you wouldn't ask that. Well,
I gotta say, they seem to be very concerned that people won't know what this thing is. Like, I feel like this... Does it need so many designators on... Like, are you gonna see this thing and be like... I've seen lots of mechs that look like that. Which one is this one? Like, this is a pretty unique...
Yeah, you're going to say, that, hey, that's the Tyrannosaurus. What's that one called? Oh, it's the Berserker. Oh, okay, thank you. Although, it's again, diegetically, the Gundam was rarely called the Gundam by enemy forces. Often got the nickname the White Devil, which, yeah. Comes off a little bit weird when you're thinking more colonially in 2025.
I could see that. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
But then again, let's remember that according to the source material, the main character was born in Burnaby, BC.
Really?
Yep. Amarore, 100% Canadian and local.
Do you think that was like a choice based on what Burnaby is like, or was that just like a looking at a map and finding a place that sounded kind of interesting?
It could be the second, but this is Yoshiyuki Tomino, who is known for making very specific decisions. So. Unsure. Choice based on plot, says Nigoki. No, I'm not sure.
Do we know? Like, did he take trips to Burnaby around that time? Like, do we have do we have a historical account of maybe?
You know what? That's a question that I have never had answered, and now I absolutely need to get the answer.
Like, I feel like people might that be common knowledge or public knowledge, whether he happened to be traveling to Canada around the time that. The first series was being developed.
Yeah, probably not, because he's a very, 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 very busy man. He doesn't have a lot of downtime, but he did go to India in between a couple of them and cause a lot of things to get set in Char's counterattack because of that. So we're saying that general outline is that of what areas were occupied and where the white base was, and that North America was not super duper occupied at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, even if it has to be in North America, Burnaby is so specific. Like, it's not even Vancouver.
Yeah, not even
Burnaby is so specific.
Well, yeah. The other problem, too, is that Tomino is a known liar and changes his answers to questions on the reg. So. Could be difficult to actually nail down why that might be the case. That said, again, coming back to the other side, this is also the series that featured Edmonton as the seat of world power in a later series that unfortunately was not directed by Tomino, but...
Well, I mean, that just makes sense.
what was weird about that was that not only do they go to Edmonton, but it's not just a case of, here's future city that we've named Edmonton, and it just looks like every other future city in a cartoon show. No, they went and took reference photos. I think someone must have gone to Edmonton because there is a clear building of a money mart in one of the shots.
It's like, I always remember as a kid, watching like Monty Python, right? Mm-hmm. And the lumberjack song, he goes, tree going from tree to tree in the mighty forests or across in the muddy rivers of British Columbia. And just, my small child mind just being kind of blown away by these, these not only amazingly talented guys, but this show that even at that time was sort of separated from me both by 20 years, 30 years, and they were over in the UK. Mm-hmm. That they would name check not only Canada but like specifically British Columbia. Yeah. I thought was just so, of all the places in the entire world that they could mention, the fact that they would, and this idea that the sort of romantic notion and the sort of mythos of the sort of manly lumberjack had kind of worked its way into British culture. Mm-hmm. And as with many of these things, the cowboy or the whatever, I'm completely distorted from what reality actually was.
I think that's part of the Canadian, the Canadian condition that as we grow up, we are hyper-fixated on any mention of Canada within mainstream media, because there is so little of our media that breaks through to the greater world. That it's like, oh, they noticed us.
Yeah.
Oh.
When you're watching something that has clearly been filmed in Vancouver, and they actually say they're in Vancouver, mm-hmm. You're like, oh.
Why did you do that? It's usually my first question. But yeah, the other good example, of course, being Wolverine, that all the kids tend to latch onto. It's like, oh yeah, he's our hero. And then you do your research and you get to find out about the superhero team that he was on in Canada for a while.
Yeah, Alpha Flight.
Yep, with Puck.
Yeah, some did not age as well as others.
Oh, you mean he's a lovable rascal who's a trickster figure, and is related to the Shakespearean legends? No, he's named after a hockey puck.
And he's a little angry French Canadian guy. Yep. The guy who like. I forget even what his name is. He like throws totem poles.
No, jeez, yeah, I don't think he gets the call very often.
But what I found pretty amazing was that he, it wasn't just like total. It was like specifically like recognizable like Coast Salish.
Oh no.
Style totem like there's lots of different styles. Yeah. But yeah, I think every superhero team has got a few members that don't get calls too much anymore.
Yep.
That like we're not saying that you're not a
valued
and your powers aren't good. It's just your theming is a little problematic.
We're going to need you to rebrand. Oh, sorry, we just don't have the money for that.
like, I'm a mutant. I can't help how my powers manifest. It's like, yeah, we know, but still.
Oh, what one of the best lines from that series of movies? Have you tried not being a mutant?
Yeah. Making the extremely not subtle subtext even less subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There we go. That's, I think, looking good on these pieces here.
BF.
Wow. That is a sharp lens, too. All right. I think now is a good time for us to take a short break, for us to all get up, stretch our legs, swap our fluids, and get ourselves ready for another round of decaling. We're making good progress, so get up, do what you need to do. We'll be back in just a few. Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Soldier Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian, and we are continuing to put little decals on a big red dinosaur. This is the part of the dinosaur that does this. I don't know what you call it, but it does that.
You'd have to ask a paleontologist.
Yeah, this is a little bit out of my depth here. Apparently, also, I look enough like a serial killer that I was unnerving some of the people out in the friend zone earlier. Apparently, if you're a large, bald man wearing a white shirt, marching confidently out wearing black gloves, people may mistake you for some sort of assassin. So, don't worry, no barcodes in the back of the neck. Now you can't see. Right. Let's decide what part to deal with next. And actually, I see on the machine here, and by the machine I mean the the instructions, that there are more pieces to put on the thighs. So let's do that.
I feel there is definitely like a, if you don't know that you had just been putting the stuff on and doing the things, somebody wearing, gloves when they appear to be not doing anything that requires gloves, definitely is suspicious.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Oh, you're like, wait, what are you doing that your hands are going to get help?
Well, I just don't want to leave any fingerprints for perfectly legal reasons.
Sure. Yeah.
I just don't want to leave the oil of my evidence on the model. This would not be this would not be useful as a murder weapon. I'm just realizing that it wouldn't be good as a murder weapon. It would be delicious as a wing. Like, there's a lot of meat on here.
It's true.
Okay. This is going to be an interesting one to talk about too for a bit because we're going to be and I've also discovered potentially why the different plastic. So let's meet me on cameras 5. We're going to be putting a decal right about here. And the reason this is interesting is because this is where we're going to start getting into order of operations when you're building your models and finishing them. And also, we'll be able to use the microsol to solvent the decal and get it into the little cracks there. Why I'm saying this is about order of operations is that the reason you do the decaling last is that you need to do all of your work with the plastic first, because these are two pieces that would come apart like this. And if you wanted to say do a top coat first, you'd want to do that before, so that again you're sealing that sort of area. You can, if you're sealing and deleting seam lines by getting your thin cement and pushing things together and then sanding it, you want to do that first as well. But the thing is that
see. As you squeeze it together there, yeah.
So the thing is, oh man, this could be dangerous.
Now, is that something that you would want to also do like the panel lining on, or are you actually trying to make that seam not visible?
Now that's a good question. That is probably something where we'd want to panel line. So,
can you panel line over a decal?
You can, but I wouldn't. What I'd prefer to do would be to spray down a coat over top of the decal to protect the decal, and then do the panel lining on top of that, or do the panel lining first, clean it up, and then put the decal on. So maybe that's what I'm going to do here.
I guess, like, in the context of what you're seeing, if assuming that is like a stencil, like a badge or a painted piece of the vehicle, it would make sense that if it goes into that crack, then the shadow of that crack should go over. Like if the decal isn't darkened by the panel line, that would look weird because the decal is supposed to be in that seam.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Well, you know what? Let's do that. Let's do a little bit of panel lining here on this piece. Let it dry, and then we can come back to that little bit. So.
So it's interesting that it's like that's supposed to be, it's like showing where you panel line it because it's two sections meeting, but in the model that is actually two sections meeting.
And it wouldn't necessarily be that way, I think, if this were constructed. You'd probably have a full weld down there rather than having it come apart. But the other thing that I'm worried about is that this is one of those nightmare situations for panel lining, because you're panel lining next to a crevice, and the problem with panel liner is that it's a chemical, and it's a fairly hot chemical in the modeling sense, in that that means it has a lot of a very strong thinner, a lot of strong solvent in it. And when you put panel liner on plastic, I'm just going to do it right now. It's fine. This is usually fine because it's got a lot of surface area, and that means that it can be soaked. The hot thinner.
The reaction.
Yeah, it boils off very quickly, so you don't have to worry about it as much. When you get it into a crevice like that, the panel lining fluid can pool and take a lot longer to evaporate, which means that it has more time to interact with the plastic, and that causes the plastic to become very brittle. And in a situation, if you get that into a place where it's a structural area or something that's going to take a lot of load, or it's going to be moved around, you can end up very easily just having your plastic just crumble in your hands as you do that.
So the panel lining is quite chemically reactive.
Yeah, it can be, and that's why it's advisable to do a top coat of usually an acrylic or a lacquer, something that's not going to react with the enamel thinner. And that's why you've got to be careful about your layers of paint, as we were talking about the last time, that you want to make sure that whatever you're putting on top of the paint is something that's not going to react or reactivate the paint in the lower level. And
now that edge has that sort of zigzag pattern where it comes together.
Yeah.
And presumably that's deliberate that's supposed to be sort of something with the construction of the vehicle. Like if they had intended that to just be an invisible seam, they would have just made it flat.
But this is definitely something that's meant to be decorative there. So let's just leave it here. And I'm just going to touch the areas with some panel liner just to give you an idea of how this works. Wipe off some excess, and let's just go along here.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, just it's so thin.
Yeah, so subtle.
But yeah, it just gives it that depth.
Yep. And then here we've got the same problem. You can see. Just touch the edges. You want to let surface tension do the work for you, rather than actually painting with this stuff.
Right.
But I don't know. I think I might have done some bad things to the brush in this here as well.
Like on this particular model, I see there's lots of stuff that I wouldn't call panels in terms of like panel lining, but sort of divots and things like you're doing. And it would be typical to sort of fill those as well, or to touch those.
These are some of the more interesting pieces. So right here. These sort of vents. And so if we get in here, touch it. You can see that it just spreads right out.
I notice you're not touching. So you're touching the sort of edge of it, not necessarily right inside it. Eh?
Mm-hmm. If you can, the less you can touch means the less that you need to clean up.
Right.
Let's just get that circle there too while we're at it. Okay, and we're just going to leave that for a couple minutes here. I'm going to do this off camera just to make sure I've got everything covered, so we don't need to come back to this.
It's a really interesting aspect of the sort of model building where it's like, you would sort of theoretically a groove or the groove between two panels it's scaled. The groove between the panels is being scaled down in the same way as the rest of the model is. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why do you have to add extra shadows to it? But it sort of is something that doesn't scale in the same way that you would sort of expect.
Yeah.
Which is sort of an interesting aspect of like that the difference between a model or like a small thing and a large thing far away. Sort of. Yeah, lighting doesn't scale the way you sort of expect, necessarily completely the way you expect it.
That said, if you do end up going in and painting these models, I have noticed, depending on your style, you can get away without doing panel lining. And I'm in the last two kits that I've built over the past, it's only been a quarter? Yeah, I guess in the past quarter. I've noticed that I'm able to get better effects in terms of shading by just doing the painting in a different way, shading there, versus adding the panel lines. And in fact, that's what caused me to get some panel line colors other than black as well, because on red, black pops. That's exactly the color you want. But on a white, you might want to, especially depending on what color you're using, you might want to use that very, very light blue or brown as your panel lining color.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking about like you often see like sort of space marines and those kinds of things. Because in that circumstance. And when you're painting something like that, often you would be like priming, doing sort of the opposite, right? You'd be priming it dark and then painting the color over top. So
exactly.
the panel lining kind of comes naturally.
And so if you're not, slopping that paint into those recesses, it's going to be naturally darker already than it is. And so it's, they provide different effects. And if you like some kits may be better off panel lined and some not. And I'm learning that as I go along as well.
Do you, along with panel lining, do you do the highlighting as well?
No, I generally don't do highlighting on things. That's definitely something I do in the paint itself.
Right.
Difficult when you're not painting to do anything like that. But it's also difficult to do sort of highlighting too. If I were to complete this project as it is without painting, the next step, and we may actually go through all this, the next steps would probably be, once we're done panel lining, putting down a top coat of acrylic, and then going in and doing some weathering washes, which would also go in and fill some of these gaps with more contrast.
The panel lining is neat in the sense that you can, it isn't painting it, but it's sort of like half painting it almost,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really more of best to think of it as an enamel wash.
Right.
Because that's literally what it's doing. Is it's going in there and shading things a bit in a very small color with a little bit of pigment in a lot of thinner, and then but instead of just being painted all the way over the top of it, you're doing it in very specific areas and then cleaning it up after the fact.
Right, and keeping the plastic colors.
Yeah, exactly. Probably would also do then some chipping with rather than trying to do that with paint, using some pigmented silver and black pencil crayons.
Oh,
Just
interesting.
very lightly tapping the edges and specifically the edges, actually, because that's where you get wear naturally. Other than big long gashes on flat things, it's often the corners of things that bump into things and lose their paint quickly.
Makes sense.
Yeah. The other thing that some people who are a little bit more have a little bit more time than I do, or at least are have a style they like, will go in and scribe all of these sorts of panel areas to
To deepen the...
exactly to emphasize those sorts of changes in elevation, and that also helps because you're cleaning up those recesses. That helps the panel lines to flow a little bit better as well.
It's almost sort of a the next level of like cleaning up the mold lines when you're taking it off the sprue or whatever.
Exactly.
It's going through and deepening all the recesses.
Yeah. And once you get to that stage, then you're probably going to very quickly move into the next stage, which is scribing your own panel lines in addition to what's already on the model, to further complicate it.
Right.
And that involves some very heavy tape and a lot of math.
It's a very it's that deep well. It's like once you've begun, how do you stop?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a hobby that goes as deep as you want it to. All right. I think we're actually at the stage where I can let's rather than moving on and doing different decals, let's clean up these panel lines that we've got, because they should be good by now. And you don't need a lot of thinner for this. In fact, you can generally just toss the bottle and open the cap, and there's going to be more than enough on that cap to activate.
Again, if you get too thick with stuff, then you start having chemical reactions happen that you don't want.
Well, it's more that you will end up brushing away more panel lining than you mean to. So this one's going to be really easy. We're just going to quickly wipe the top of that, and that cleans up with no problem. Nothing got out of the edges here, so that's fine. That one's fine. Let's look at the other one's going to be a little bit more messy. This is where it's going to get interesting. Okay. So let's look at these ones up here. You can see that there's bloom around the edge where I touched it.
Right.
What we're going to do is we're just going to very carefully brush that over top. And as you can see, the ink stays in the hole, but anything that was above on top has been wiped away.
Right. And you were talking about how this particular tool that you have here, it's useful because it's very flat. Because like if you were going in there with like the Q-tip or something, that would just the little fibers would kind of go into the hole
all over the place.
Yeah.
But you still need to be very careful not to be to put too much pressure on it.
Right.
Otherwise you get into the actual crevices and start wiping things away. But I think I'm mostly happy with that. No, I'm not happy with that at all. Takes off glasses, realizes how badly he's done. There we go.
I would imagine if you're scribing your own panel lines, there would be a lot of I'm sure there's a lot of spirited debate over the idea of like, if you're scribing your own panel lines, then they have to be certain. Then you want to make them, what makes mechanical sense.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of what happens when people do that. But
it's like, well, no, that doesn't. Why would he have a panel there? That piece on his leg should be one solid piece. It doesn't make any sense that there be two panels there.
And it's actually it's that kind of thought process that brings people into the aspect of scribing their own lines. It's like this. Oftentimes, it's the skirt. Those two little bits above the legs need to be broken up.
Right. Otherwise, its legs wouldn't be able to move properly.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes the higher grade kits so desirable, is that they'll print more parts, so there's more separation of again, those lines, but also of color there.
Right.
But if you're just putting it together and you're just working off the shadow, more pieces means more individual pieces rather than just lines on a piece suggesting a separate piece. But if you can put your own lines in there, you can have you can break it up into as many pieces as you want. Again, it's all down to the rule of cool, usually.
Right.
But yeah, let's get those on there.
Or it can be like my particular Zoid or Gundam is made out of a whole bunch of, it's like, made out of a bunch of like scrap pieces. So it's all little chunks of metal that have all been riveted together, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, it's really the hobby is all about undoing what the model maker did. Oh, you made two pieces for your leg? Oh no, those should be one piece. We're going to seal those together with the glue and then sand it down and make it a perfect seal. Oh no, that one piece that you've got there, that should be 8 different pieces. So we're going to put a bunch of tape on it and scribe lines all over the place.
Nice.
And at the moment, I am at the stage where I'm just going to, aside from some things, I'm just going to let the model maker decide for me. I was planning to do a seam delete on the wound wart I was working on, and that's one of the reasons why I had to go back and repaint some pieces 3 times, going back to the primer. That was the one that I used the wrong gray on. Because I was planning to seal them together on the front and then paint it up all nice and smooth. But unfortunately, I couldn't find a way to do so in a way that would cleanly allow me to mask out the other parts that weren't that color. And so decided, no, we'll cancel it. We'll have the line there. But
there's a question. That tool, the tool with the sponge and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Does that have a name?
Not that I know of.
That one would look up if they wanted to have one of their own?
I know where you can get them. Delpi Decal, and I'm willing to give them the old shout out. DELPI Decal. They're my favorite producer of third-party decals as well, and this was it was an add-on I threw in one of my first orders. I think it was $2, $3. It came with a bunch of replacement tips, which I need to reorder. I think that Ray Studio also carries them in a different method, but yeah, I couldn't tell you what the actual name of the the device is called.
Here we go. I think I got it.
Oh.
The MS46 panel lining eraser stick.
That sounds like it. Yep. MS46.
Plus 10 eraser refill.
That would be exactly it then.
$7.80.
Ooh, inflation comes for us all, doesn't it? But yeah, if you're looking for third-party decals, I highly recommend theirs. They are great quality and look fantastic.
I appreciate this picture. This picture of it in use, just because it is basically exactly.
Oh my gosh! Wow, this is hey, how'd you get in our studio? All right, here's some fun. We're going to do some micro soling on this one so that we can get that into the grooves. So I'm going to come back there. Forward back.
Here, let me.
Yeah, I'll let you do it.
There we go.
But we're just going to paint this on.
Oh, that's an interesting. Their logo is like a. Yeah, it's like a snake or something.
I'm not sure how evident it is, but you should be able to see that it is starting to conform to that, the ridges underneath. There we go. Yeah, that's even more not really apparent. Maybe from that angle? Maybe from that angle you can see a bit.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's the purpose of that, is to, again, make it a little bit more looking like it's painted on.
Right. Yeah. It just sort of gives it that. Yeah, that feeling that it isn't a sticker.
Yeah, just a bit more. A little bit more apparent when you're putting it on, using larger decals, like a
right.
like a full tail piece.
This there it doesn't appear to be too many large, like this thing does seem to have a lot of quite small decals on it. Is that unusual? Like, it doesn't seem to have any large ones?
No, you generally see the larger ones when you're dealing with the third-party kits, generally because they're trying to achieve a certain look. I like to think of them as manufacturer parade color looks, where you'll have the name and of the manufacturer and not the manufacturer of the model, the manufacturer of the mobile suit. And then the name blazoned across half of the chest or an entire shield, sort of thing.
Well, do they sometimes do like you were talking about, the sort of panel wear and tear and, scrapes and scratches and stuff? Are those sometimes done as, like, you can get just like a sheet of scratches?
No, almost never. It's I don't think I've ever seen a battle damage decal of any sort, to be honest.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's a lot easier to do in paint and pencil.
I was just sort of thinking about those. There's those like static clings of, like, broken
broken glass.
broken glass,
Yeah.
or like a bullet hole or something.
I think if I had to give a reason for it, I'd probably say that it's due to the way that, curses.
Oh no.
The size of damage. Like if you're looking at damage that's going to be as big as a decal is, like even these sizes or some of the smaller ones, then you're going to start looking at more than just surface damage.
Right, and it needs to have a sort of three-dimensional aspect to it.
Yeah, and so you're looking at breaking out your soldering iron or your small drill and putting some small explosion marks or whatnot. Come on, just go where you're supposed to. And that's something I haven't tried myself. Again, perhaps in the future, but I tend to like my models looking fairly clean, if only just a little bit dirty from flying through a nebula or two. But I have seen some very, very good damage done using drills and soldering irons, especially in shields. But for this sort of thing, again, it would just literally be taking the edge of the edge of a pencil, one of those pencil crayons, and just going down the edge of this thing and tick, 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 tick.
Right. So it wouldn't. So
Yeah, and you do it in black first to indicate that you've knocked the paint off down to the primer, and then on a few of them you go again with your silver pencil and just tick, tick on a couple of them. Yeah. All right, let's continue on with these thigh decals here. I'm going to go down into the next area down, and that's where we're going to get the EDBD. EDBD model.
He's got little itty bitty thighs.
All right, let's go vertical this time. Verta first.
I remember a while ago when Alex came on and was showing off it's like it wasn't a tank, it was like I think it was like an APC carrier or something. It was some sort of armored vehicle that he had been working on and doing a lot of scratch built work on and stuff, and in particular, I mean, that was the situation where it was supposed to be sort of a something that had really gone through the ringer.
Mm-hmm. I believe that was actually his one of his Chernobyl
right, yes.
trucks. Yeah.
So, but he had done like a lot of extra work with rust and making all the rivets all nasty and doing all sorts of fun stuff with that.
I've heard of some people in terms of trying to initially make the damage physical before they go in and paint it, putting their gunpla in a shoebox full of firecrackers.
It's a little more literal than...
Yep. But unfortunately, you still need to get in there with the paint, because even if you do blow a chunk out of some plastic, it's still white plastic.
I feel like, yeah, it seems like you would, that'd be tough. You could very easily end up with not
not much model left, yeah.
Or just like not particularly photogenic damage,
Well, that's true too. You want to, I would think if I were to do damage on a machine, I would want to be a bit more intentional, because it's war. It's not just a bunch of well, there are a bunch of explosions going on for no reason, but a lot of that damage is going to be directed at you, and so it's either going to be in a place that's a shoulder or a shield or.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to sort of, I know often on when people like historians are looking at a historical artifact, they will talk about the sort of the story of it, right? Mm-hmm. And often that's how they can, you can also use that to like spot a forgery, where it's like, there's like a bunch of damage here that makes sense, but then there's like a piece of damage here that doesn't make any sense. Like there shouldn't have been a piece of damage here. And then they can spot a forgery that way. But the idea of sort of, putting the damage on thinking about how your particular Gundam or whatever would be, what kinds of things it would be encountering, how it would be engaging in battle, where it would be actually taking damage. Probably wouldn't be getting, hit on the top of its head or something.
Well, massive damage to the taint.
I mean, I guess it depends on, if guys are running between its legs, maybe.
You know what? If there is a bazooka core out there with that kind of balls, good on you.
Most people don't know that is the one weak spot in the Gundam armor. Most people don't know that because they're not willing to get up that close. But.
And the unfortunate thing is, in the Sid Mead design Gundam, that's where he decided to put the cockpit.
Ooh.
Yep.
Not in the head.
Yeah. There's themes in fictional works. It really matters where your pilot is. Sometimes. See, if you have the pilot in the head, that implies certain things about the actor, or not the actor, but the character's motivations and where they're drawing their motivations from the brain. Whereas characters who are located in the chest are going to be a more passionate fighter, reacting to emotions from the heart.
If you're cockpit is in the taint, then
Well, then your name is Lauren, and things are going to be going different for you than most of our pilots were.
what does it mean if your pilot is piloting from like the left knee or something?
Then I think that just means you're in a Voltron, my friend.
Yeah, you hope that you're in a Voltron and all your buddies have left.
Yeah.
Guys.
Can I pilot from here? Where was I going with this? Knees. 17. Just keep going.
It was a very, you know, as a whole, I don't know if it did a very good job, but the newish sort of reboot Power Rangers movie that came out a few years ago, they did a sort of a reboot, or not a reboot, but like a Power Rangers movie that they did the thing where, you know, they make the big assemble the big whatever Voltron thing, and then they go ha, and then start and just immediately falls flat in its face. The person who's working the legs is like, I don't know how this works. Okay, we gotta get coordinated. Okay, you go this way, I'll go this way. Okay, let's do that.
Oh, yes. Did recall where I, before we diverged, when we were still talking a bit about the type of damage that you can have on there. I was remembering that that matters in the weathering aspect of things too. You have to think about, where has this machine been? Has it been fighting for weeks in a desert? Is it brand new or just off the assembly line? Is it in space? These all are different color combinations that you're going to get when you're.
Yeah. Yes, space. You get like whatever micrometeors or whatever.
And different. You know, you'll get a different gray or dust, sort of a regolith type situation than a lot of rust. Not a lot of free oxygen in space.
Right, of course, yeah.
Well, there is, just not in high concentrations. Okay, that. I'm happy with that position there. Does it say anything I can read?
That is a very teeny weeny one.
I did bring my lenses today, so let's see if I can. No, if those are words, then I can't read them, and I don't think they're their words.
Do they design these on like a 8.5 by 11 sheet? Is it like the way when they design circuits like large, and then they they sort of optically shrink it? Like, are they designing it at the final size, or do they design it larger and then like shrink it down for the actual print?
I mean, they've got to be designing these things at on a computer monitor at normal size, to be honest, and then shrink it or zoom in, I guess, to do what they're doing.
Yeah,
I think I might have found out what EDB means, and it's not Earth, but it's E-Deployment Bureau.
Something Deployment Bureau?
Yep. And the E isn't Earth.
And it isn't Earth.
Oh, hey. It's my favorite image in the chat. The survivability bias plane.
I used that as a picture for Checkpoint just recently.
Which, if according to our usual time frame, should be up for viewing now.
I believe so, yeah. But yeah, I do like that idea. It's like, we noticed that in all our tests, those are the areas of planes that get hit. So we better armor those areas.
Yep.
And it's like, no,
What
no,
about
no.
the planes that didn't come back?
Yeah, those are just the planes that the planes that got hit in the other spots didn't come back. It's actually the opposite conclusion. Empire Development Bureau.
Ah, Development Bureau. Okay, that makes more sense than Deployment Bureau.
I mean, Empire Development Bureau is still a very weird name, but
I don't want to avoid empire development these days. Unless, of course, it's some sort of business empire.
I mean, then again, like, you've got a 50-foot tall robotic dinosaur. Who are you fooling? No. This 50-foot tall robotic dinosaur is only for peace.
This is for education.
It is a peaceful dinosaur. It will use its teeny tiny arms to direct people to the bathrooms.
I mean, it is a lot easier to be a pacifist when you are 18 meters tall and made of metal.
That's true. That's true.
Speaking from experience, of course. That's the thing they don't tell you about Loading Ready Run members is that we are incredibly tall and made of metal.
Mm-hmm.
Developed out of 100% pure gungranium alloy.
Gungranium?
Gungrahaminium? We'll workshop it.
Right. Isn't that? Yeah, because Gundams are made out of Gundamium.
Gundinium, Gundarium, and lunar titanium. All completely separate.
Lunar titanium. Mm-hmm. It's got to be serious stuff.
I think it has something to do with growing the crystals in a microgravity environment.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Fiction.
So was Gundanium called Gundanium before it was used to make Gundams?
That
like which was named after the other one.
We're starting to stray into some of the side stories I'm less familiar with here.
They just called it, the Gundam stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to give it a good name.
It is a little bit, it's, I don't know if I would say better or worse than unobtainium, but.
I do like, and I've heard this on lots of sort of people talking about it, and I felt like this myself, after seeing Avatar, that like it takes about halfway through the movie before you realize that, oh, that's not like him making a joke. It is literally actually called unobtainium.
Yep.
I thought that was just like he was just colloquially calling it that as a thing. It's like, no, nope. that is the chemical.
Yep.
That's the official name.
But at least they dropped it for the second movie.
Right. They had a completely different.
Yeah. They didn't
made up thing.
Yeah.
No. The reasons why we're here, that we fought and thousands of people for, that wasn't the real thing. The real thing is this other thing.
Live forever-inium. I think we're now on to the final bits of the body. I think we've actually got these thighs finished up. So, wow, we're making good progress here. Let's decide which to. Well, I mean, let's do a couple more of these little small ones here, these 17s. I think we're just about done with them too, which is nice.
I kind of want him to have like, I don't know, a QR code or one of those like AR tags, like the sort of square checkerboard AR tags.
Right, something that you can scan from a distance and be able to say, yep.
It's like an inventory tag on it, so that the guy can come along and go beep. Yep. If you want to, you have to check. If you want to check out the Stürm Tyrann, you have to go and get the little thing and swipe it. So that way everybody knows that you're the, if people are like, hey, what happened to the big dinosaur? They're like, oh, we can look it up in the thing and see who bored it.
I mean, the other option is that you attach the keys to a big plastic dinosaur on a chain.
Oh, right, yeah, of course.
Like a bathroom for a gas station.
Yeah. Can I get the dinosaur key? All right.
Oh. Well, thank you, Wedge. That actually makes sense for the adamantanium then. The conceit is that it was a room temperature superconductor. That's why the rocks would float in the planet's magnetic field.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited by room temperature superconductors.
Mm-hmm.
Who wouldn't be? Okay. All right, let's brush you on. Okay, the water has significantly cooled by now. You can see by how many times I'm going back to the water and how long I'm holding it in there. Have not in the past weeks done any research on Zoids. I think I'm good with my knowledge level on Zoids right now.
There comes a time in every man's life where he has to admit that he's okay with his knowledge of Zoids.
Zoids may not be for me. Although there are some very cool little moldings, especially on this backpack here, which, if painted, would look really cool. A lot of vents up here and other textures. It is a shame that the painting process is rather antithetical to streaming, or at least a little bit more difficult to do in a larger, well-cameraed environment.
It's true, yeah. There is a certain aspect to painting that, in some ways, does work better if it's just sort of you're sort of by yourself at your desk with like a camera on a little arm or something.
Well, that was what I was going to mention, was that, at least in this studio, for what I'm doing here right now, I don't have to wrap a Logitech Brio in plastic wrap. I gave it the college try, and it was good, but it's not something I'd really like to repeat. There we go. Some of these decals just really want to move around. And I forgot my toothpick, which is quite frankly one of the most important tools in the Decaling toolbox. Just a very small thing that you can use to push things around that won't damage the decal and won't, get in the way of your vision. Seems good. Okay. One also has to decide in all aspects of doing this hobby. How detailed do you want to get? Are you going to get this close and examine everything, or are you going to let things let things fly according to the 6-foot rule? How close do you expect people to be monitoring your activities? Speaking of monitoring my activities, I have noticed that it is now the top of the hour, so we're going to have ourselves another short break to get up, swap the fluids, stretch our legs, and we'll be back with more of the Decaling of the Dinosaur in just a few minutes. Don't go all the way away. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry, where I am figuring out where to put the last decals on this dinosaur. Got a few on the head, a few on the body, and nothing on the back. Does the backpack the backpack just comes off. Great. That'll make things actually a lot easier, because I think a couple things go on there.
Does he have a lower back tattoo?
Yeah. He does well on the backpack, maybe not on the body. But you know what? There may be extras left over. We can attempt that as it comes up. Whew, a lot of stuff going on right here. I'm not sure if you got the overhead in a viewable state, but a lot of just
so many
massive numbers
on his head.
Mm-hmm. I think what I shall do is finish up. We've got something that needs to go on his jawline here, so let's put that on. I'm also looking here, and it's going to be way too small for you to see at home, but we've got this decal here, right on.
Back it up.
Yeah, and this way. So, here and here are decals not numbered.
Oh, I see. The little points on his nose.
Yeah, and even this one isn't a numbered decal, but it's one that we have already applied to the face.
Right.
So I think we just have one there. But let's get those jawline ones on RAR.
Yeah. Caution teeth.
Yeah, just down
pointy
here. That's 25. We can twist the head, which will make application much easier. Oh, right, he's got a gun for a tongue. gun tongue.
Gun tongue. Tonguedom.
It's a gun tongue. 25 is the number we need for that, and that's one where they do give you extras. So lucky us.
Will this decal sheet be pretty much empty by the time you're done here?
If not fully empty, pretty close to empty. And I'm thinking that given what are numbered and what's left on here, I think we'll have just a few left on the sheet, which we can then distribute as need be or save for future projects.
Do you have like a folder full of
And that's why they give you extras.
there we go. There, that just disappeared.
Yeah, that just went. Yeah, I do have a box that I keep my various
sort of half used decal sheets.
Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I think that box is also where I keep my my extra hands that these things come with, because they generally give you separate hands for holding weaponry or just having a hand in a hand position.
Right.
Either fist or outstretched.
I need a gun. Quickly, give me my other hand.
Gotta say though, not pleased with the Verka version of the double Zeta kit. They give you 4 hands total, but they only give you 1 set of thumbs that you have to move between the various hands.
That just seems stingy.
It really is.
Like, how hard would it be to just put thumbs on all the hands?
Yeah.
Like, That's like the most minuscule amount of plastic.
Right? And yet. And yet.
Who's got 2 thumbs but
4 hands?
4 hands. This guy.
This guy.
Why are you pointing with those other 2 hands? I can't show you because I only have 2 thumbs.
I don't know, maybe it's also a way for keeping the Gundams from evolving and forming tool use.
Yeah. As long as we still can beat them in a thumb war, we'll be okay.
All right, and that appears to be, just trying to get a reference on how far back I need to be. Looks like right in the middle of the second serration is where the wording goes. Phrases you will only hear once in your life. That looks pretty clean to me. Let's get the excess water out of there. Get the excess water out. Push the decal just completely out of line. Dog's breakfast complete. Part of your dog's complete breakfast. There we go. Okay. I think we can leave it like that. Don't need to push too hard. There are some sharp edges on some of these. I think that is it for the head, but I am going to actually use my micro sole to pin one of these down here. I'm not sure if it's visible, but this sticker or this decal is starting to lift just a bit along the edge.
Uh-oh.
So we're just going to paint that back down.
So you can just give it a little bit of that. This is so, when you are, it's best, it seems like it's best, if you're doing decaling, like, obviously, you had a fair amount of time between your first session and second session of doing this. But in general, you want to put down all the decals and then do that sealing coat.
Yep.
Because with just when the decals are just on, it's not actually a very stable situation. They can get knocked off pretty easily.
Especially if you're spending a lot of time working them. The more you work them, the less adhesive remains on the back of them. So you want to get them on as quickly and as cleanly as possible. And yes, you said, get that top layer over top of them for protection. Let's see here. Arms have a 7 and a 1 on them, at least on the shoulder portion. So let's do that next. Up here and up here. Where's my 7s at? Where it says 7. Aha! Oh no. We may have to break the paper. I think at this point I'm just going to switch to freehand completely.
Mm-hmm. He's gone off grid.
Oh yeah, we lost the 5, which is fine. There's nothing left there anyway. But oh, and a bunch of it. Yep, there we go.
You think, considering that they're not, being used in printing and stuff, why couldn't they make the numbers black? Like, why make the numbers in white?
That's a very good question, and I don't have a good answer for that.
It seems like they can make the numbers a lot more visible.
Yeah, if they just use the black that they are already printing with. The thing is, I don't know if it's the case on these ones, but I do know on some of the third-party decals I've used in the past, the numbers were actually printed as a decal as well. So they would get, they would loosen in the water, and usually because I'm gripping on the number, because it's a safe place to grip with these things, you would get stacks of 4 or 5 to 8 numbers just in between.
I guess that's handy if for whatever reason you want to have some numbers on the side of your thing, though.
You know what, Paul? I wish I'd thought of that when I was basing or putting the numbers in decal on the bases of my little kill team dudes.
Oh,
That would have saved me just a little bit of money. It would have also been very fiddly, so. And probably too small to be legible. All right. Move these aside. Let's start with this guy on this arm here. Now that's the.
I saw you rewarmed your or refreshed your hot water there. Right?
Yes. Didn't want anything to get in the way of me getting these decals on this dinosaur. Caution, this is an elbow. Actually, nope, shoulder. My mistake.
Oh no. You put the caution elbow in the wrong spot. Sorry, Stürm Tyrann, you can't be a part of the Canadian patriotism movement. You can't get those elbows up. Too tiny. He's got his elbows up, you just can't tell.
There we go. Love to touch it and have it immediately just twist out of direction. I think it needs to be closer to the front anyway to match the other side. So there we go. Very lightly. There we go. Good enough. And now these guys go down on the tip end there. These ones have a triangle and have a lot of words, so I'm very curious to be able to read what they say. Little internal 10 count. Ooh, okay. Extra weapon system. The shoulder? The shoulder check?
Stand clear. Almost looks like a optometrist thing with larger words, and then the words get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Read the first line. Zoc. Zagok. Big Zam. It recently came out that the reason a lot of the names of suits and names of people in Gundam are as strange as they are is specifically because the director was trying to see how far he could go with weird names before they stopped him. And they never did.
I feel like there's a good chunk of stories about things in popular culture that have that same thing. It's like, I thought you would stop me.
Why didn't you stop me? Oh, there's another one on here that I haven't got to. Up on the top edge. Number 36. Number 36.
I feel like this thing should have, I don't know, having like a little caution thing there. Like, what? It's a ginormous, robotic dinosaur. Like, really, like, that's the part, that one little section of his arm, that's the part that you need to be concerned about?
I mean, I've got to imagine that all of these caution labels are really there for maintenance staff.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Something they don't show a lot in the modern Gundam series that they spend a lot more time with was the maintenance crews.
Yeah, I like that. Sort of, they should do, have they done like a, I was saying they should do it, but there's been a lot of Gundam series. Have they done like a Lower Decks Gundam series?
Not really yet. That could be an interesting one.
That'd be fun, yeah.
Especially if they can keep the comedy.
You go, aha! Their giant robotic dinosaur has used its main laser. It's got no weapons left. And then somebody's like, wait. I can see it's got a little label there that says extra weapon system. We should stay away from that thing.
That particular area seems dangerous.
Damn, how did he know we had an extra weapon system?
Sir, the labeling.
But we can't not label it, otherwise it might be dangerous.
OSHA clearly still exists in the Universal Century.
It's true.
Despite wartime, it's important to be safe. Or rather, it's important to avoid workplace lawsuits based on non-safety.
You want all of the dangerous stuff to be directed against the enemy.
Yes. Point unsafety towards enemy. All right. That went pretty quickly.
Wait, is that a Wi-Fi symbol? Does he have Bluetooth?
And if so, where do you print the password?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we got all of those. Did we get the another nose bit? We did not.
Password is Stürm Tyrann with 2 N's.
And a 7 for the T.
Right. You have to make sure it's secure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's do the number 25s on the, I guess you could call them the cuffs. Yeah, the cuffs. Got little cuffs.
Does he have little cufflinks?
I guess that could be what these little labels are. Or if there's you know what? There's some panels that we could paint up. Give it a little hit with the aluminum. Make it shiny.
That's when he's going out for a night on the town.
That said, there are models that do have even more evident cuffs that are specifically meant to look like them, including the...
There are like fancy dress Gundams.
Yep. Now, to be clear, the unit fielding said Gundams call themselves the Sleeves, so there may be some shenanigans going on there. What's the best? You know what? The best way to do this is to take the arms off.
Tuxedo Gundam seems pretty awesome, though.
But it didn't do anything.
Just arrives and throws a 30-foot-long rows.
Yes. Uh-oh.
Probably would actually be pretty effective.
Yeah. Wait, no. I believe there actually is a Gundam that at least has a rose. I don't know if it throws it, but that would be the French Gundam, again from G Gundam.
Does it like hold it between its teeth?
No, but it does have a Napoleon hat.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
So.
Or it says G Gundam has the French Gundam with roses. Are they like tactical roses?
Oh,
like are roses part of its attack?
Oh yes, the roses are in fact remote controllable. Well, in the mainline Gundam series, they'd be controlled by a psycho frame or some form of other new type control. But in G Gundam, it's all magic. Who knows and cares? Does that go onto here?
Unlike being grounded in reality, like the psycho frame.
Yes. Shaped like a T. Ow. I'd forgotten how intricate some parts of this this model are, and it's really great.
Yeah.
That goes in there. Okay, great. All right, now we can get the sleeve on. And so this is actually good that I'm doing this, taking it apart, because if I am going to put a top coat on it, it's a lot easier to do that when you break it down into smaller parts of the model rather than just having the whole thing.
Right. And I guess you also want to be careful you don't like weld the joints and stuff.
Yes. Wait. This is meant to be on the outside. Wait, that was the outside of the arm. I can tell because of where the shoulder hole is, but there's a lot going on this arm, so it's maybe difficult to. I found it difficult to be sure. Right, easy. Oh, so clean.
Ooh.
Let's bring around the other one. And submerge the paper. Oops, don't grab the actual decal. I've done that once, and I was so embarrassed after the 3 minutes of trying to move this decal off the paper. It was clearly released, but...
Well, then it gets, I guess it can get kind of tangled up in the tweezers to wrap around.
I'm just going to turn this around this side. There we go. Now you can see, and I can see as well. Gotta say, Paul, I think we've really nailed down the camera angles for this particular type of work.
Yeah. It's tricky, you know. I've thought about for like either this or other kinds of model work or model painting and stuff. You know, the ideal thing, you know, you can get those little cameras that have like built-in face detection. Little, like, I think it's, you know, like Osmo or different ones like that where it's got like a automatic face detection stuff, and it's like, I want that but hand detection.
Yeah.
Like I need like a camera that will track
hands, yeah.
track somebody's hand, or track, I don't know, maybe you could put like a little tracking thing on like a Warhammer model or something so that it would face it. But yeah, the nice thing with this particular one especially is that and having the, you know, we can make sure that we have a spot on the
on the mat.
On the mat that, you know, that is going to be in focus and in the right size.
Okay, no more bending this because these come out too easily. But it is amazingly articulated how much the torso can bend in
it is
directions.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing. Like, it's as a
goes even farther.
Oh wow. You know, as somebody who hasn't done a lot of stuff with these kind of models, you sort of expect it to be it's more of like a statue, whereas this has more articulation than like an action figure.
And you put it together yourself.
Yeah.
Oh no. You're so tiny. Well, 17s go on, as does another, or we finally get to use a big piece, which is good, labeled 31. I was wondering which one it was. Another caution mark.
It is, like I was thinking, as you were making this, it's like, it would be nice if, you could get this, like if the decals and the appliques and stuff were already on the plastic, like built in. But there's it's a funny thing about models like this, right? It's like, the whole point is the building and the positioning and the process. And it's like, well, they could, you sort of think about the things that could be done to make it easier or faster to assemble, but it's like, no, that's not the point. The objective is not to assembly line build these things as quickly as possible.
Well, there are a subgroup of the fandom that do like to do it that way. The number of posts I've seen on the Gunpla Reddit community.
Speed building.
Not even just speed building, just people who are saying like, yeah, it takes me just a couple hours to get through, so I can do an assembly of a Gunpla in one a night. Like, what are you getting out of that then? And clearly they must be getting their own sense of enjoyment out of it, that the assembly, I guess, and quick assembly is their joy. Yeah,
but it's like, but it's like having, whatever, a coloring book.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, they could, they could just print the colors in the book. And that would be a lot faster.
You could have an art book, yeah.
But the whole point is doing the stuff. But
the journey.
But it is an interesting aspect that's sort of slightly antithetical to when, especially in this age of sort of AI and efficiency and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's this idea of like or like I sometimes play like the either like Sudoku or nonograms or pick cross or those kinds of things, right?
Little brain games.
Yeah, where I could write even, I could yes. write like a program to like it's effect for a computer. It's effectively trivial to solve, right?
That's what they do.
Yeah. And so it's like, but the point, and I always imagine like, I'll be on my phone or my iPad or whatever doing it and, slowly filling out the Picross or whatever. I just imagine my computer being just so frustrated. It's being like, it's right there. It's just fill in that fill in the last spot. Come on. It's so obvious.
I mean, it sounds honestly to me like we're having a sort of conversation that you'd hear between Data and Geordi in a alternate universe version of Next Gen. It's like, Data, you don't need to put the model together all at once in your super speed.
Right.
The point is to enjoy putting it together, not having done it, and then watch him completely disassemble the model again.
Yeah,
in 3 seconds.
Or like when they, that's a good. That would be a good like Data. In fact, I feel like that's something that maybe even has. Picard used to have models and stuff, right? He had models in his.
I mean, he's got the model of the Stargazer in the back.
I can imagine, Data walking in while Picard or somebody is building a model, and he can be like, that you can just ask the replicator to to replicate a completed model for you.
God, okay, of the two bridge crew, or of the bridge crew on Next Gen, I'm pretty sure that the two model builders are actually Riker, and he does not tell anyone about it, and O'Brien, who tells everyone about it.
I could see Worf having like a really elaborate diorama of showing like a particular Klingon victory or something.
Xandos in the chat is telling us that Worf was literally seen on screen working on a model.
Oh, there you go. And Riker does ships in a bottle.
Yeah. Oh no, I think Riker does the anime girl models, which is why he doesn't tell anyone about them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should get a look at that nice caution sticker on the front of the neck there.
When you hit the door thing for Riker's for Riker's quarters, and you just hear a yes.
Enter. Commander Riker, it appears your right hand is stained with what appears to be panel lining liquid. But nothing of the sort. That's my eyeliner. Man's got to take care of his appearance, you know, Data. Okay, have we done everything on the... Yeah, we've done everything indicated on the body as well. Now, I think... He says looking across areas that are not necessarily well marked. I think we're on the backpack.
They have these it's like two... Is it just two pictures? That are doing like a lot of work for where to place all these...
We've got this the back three-quarter view, and then some detail views. And
is this page literally it in terms of where all the
go? Like telling you where the decals go? Because you flip over to the next page, and it is a completely decal-free indication.
Yeah, right. Why did they take all the photos of it before the decals have been put on? So.
Unclear.
Yeah, so the entire... Oh, that page also has some.
Oh, okay, yeah, so this is a little bit better then. Good. This isn't just color, this is... and that tells us, yep, okay, I have missed an entire page in this thing.
Oh.
That's all right, though.
This is like the front three-quarter view.
And this is why we're missing some foot stuff. These knee pieces, okay, I see where we've, and the nose pieces as well. The ones that I said we didn't know, and it wasn't indicated where they were, and, well, no, wait, we got that one on there. It's the 3 that we didn't get on. And we're out of 3s. Oh, well, we'll have to,
Did we use the 3 somewhere else that we weren't supposed to?
I think maybe that's what happened. But you know what we're going to do is we're going to not do the backpack. We're going to do the knees because they've got some very, very nice high contrast yellow pieces to them, which I want to see. All right, now we're just cutting things out with abandon. Big stripy decals. Let's see, caution and a bunch of other stuff, which we will find out when it's on a background that provides contrast.
I want like a, this way up. knee bends this way. Do not install backwards.
I mean, when I eventually get my car back after I've when I eventually get around to repainting it and put some new stickers on it, I definitely need a couple no-step labels.
Uh-oh. Have people been stepping where they should not be stepping? Or
No,
you just don't want them stepping?
I just like the aesthetic of the no-step.
Just because it's a mini doesn't mean you can step.
Yeah, no steppy. Actually, no, that's what I need is some no steppy.
Yeah. Don't tread on me.
Ooh, this is going to be a fun one because of how sharp the angle is. Oh, no. There we go.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you might have to... I can't remember if you've got focus access back there.
I do, yes.
Great. I won't move, and I'll just continue to...
Oh, it's right over the...
Yep, right over the point.
Over the kneecap.
With a arrow that comes to a sharp point, which makes this...
Oh, it makes the positioning very important.
Yep, there is... Got to get this right. And level. Otherwise it will look weird. I think that is as good as it's going to get. Very carefully wipe it down. Whew.
Oh,
I think that'll do it.
That looks cool, though.
Yeah,
that really, you know, when it's sort of wrapping around the plastic, that really adds to the realism.
And that's another example of, well, another really good example of how cool decals can be in terms of changing what these models are. And we were talking during the break just how much detail they add to it, which really changes the feel from just a plastic toy to a model. Detail up. Okay, and do it again. Only this time. Easier because we've done it once? No. Harder because now we have to match exactly the one on the other side. Oh, you're too low. Let's get some more water on the brush there just to make sure it's still sliding, but not so much that it's uncontrollable.
Have you ever made a ship in a bottle?
I have not. Have you?
I have not either. It's one of those things where, like, I've seen things, you know, showing like how it's done, which makes it. It's like, oh, I see, that's how it's done, and then you sort of go, which seems really, really annoying.
Yeah, it's like that is clever. I don't like ships enough to feel the need to make a ship, period, let alone one in a bottle.
It's like that's a way I see. It's like, I see what you do there. That makes it so it's actually possible.
Yeah.
But dear Lord, that is not only building a model, but building a model with sort of tweezers. It's almost like doing, you know, laparoscopic surgery or something.
I would think I would want like the full Da Vinci robot to be working with me on that rather than...
Yeah, Gundam in a bottle.
Or so we need a really big bottle. Right. How are we doing? Getting close to the third top of the hour. Don't know if we're going to be calling this an end to this then, but we still have panel lining to do too, so we may there's a good chance we'll come back to this, because I think this deserves, now that I'm seeing some of these areas which we didn't do the panel lining on, this deserves the full lining. But let's get some of the last pieces on that we do know where they go, and let's now trim away the bits of the decal sheet that are no longer necessary. We're down to, there's a bunch of holes and just a few left on that sheet.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to see what's actual
Yeah.
sheet and what's extraneous.
And all that's left is on this bit are these two here, so we'll just do a bit of trimmage there. Separate them. And these appear, these are number one. Yeah, those are number one to go on the back of the foot, I guess. It's what the manual says, so trust the process. I know I've definitely said this before, but it's something I keep having to remind myself whenever I build models throughout the entire process, is that you need to trust the process. There are going to be times when you're going to look at your thing and say, my God, I've ruined it. It's terrible. Nothing I can do will fix this. And then 2 steps later, when you're applying your decals, everything suddenly turns around in it. Like, oh yeah, this does look good, actually.
Of course, that presupposes that you like have a process.
Well, just the process that of build, panel line,
Right.
decal, and then matte coat at the end.
Step 1, get process. Step 2, trust process.
Yeah. So that again adds a little bit more detail to that leg here. Whoop. There is no good position, but yeah, just another little bit of detail there to add to the foot. 'Cause apparently this...
That's where the no steppy sticker goes.
Yeah. For external use only. All right. And while that's softening, let's decide where our next decal is going to be. 21, we have done the 21s. Do I see 6 or 8 anywhere on this page? 8. 8 goes on the tail, on the very tippy tip. I also just realized that the ending to this episode, even if we do get all the decals on, isn't necessarily going to be that satisfying, because I'm not intending to reassemble this thing before putting it back in the box.
Right, because it needs to be, you don't need to do the sealing coat before you reassemble it.
But, yeah, and then we're still also potentially going to do some panel lining on it too, so.
Now, is it like, obviously you built this whole thing, and then now you're sort of taking it apart to do all the decals and stuff. Is there, do some people actually like decal and panel line before they even put the thing together in the first place? Or is it generally standard to build the whole thing up and then take it back down apart?
From what I've seen in my researches and my travels, the people who are the most serious about building these things will definitely do an initial piece build, and a lot of them, this is something I tried on my double Zeta, will in fact clip or trim the edges of the pegs when they put it together, so that they're putting less stress on the pieces when they eventually take it apart. But yeah, you do want to do an initial test fit build, just so you're aware of what piece goes where, how they fit together, and where you do need to add your paint, and where the paint and what the paint should be.
And I mean these pieces, like you've split it up into maybe 10 pieces or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's still a lot bigger. A lot less pieces and a lot bigger pieces than it was obviously originally. Yeah,
when I did my Nightingale build on stream, actually, I decided to top coat into each piece individually. Like I did a build to put it together, and then the thing did not come back together until it was time to line and decal.
And so you did, in that case, you disassembled the entire thing
entire thing
down
yeah.
to its
Yeah.
base component.
And
Wow.
I hadn't done any sort of trimming of the pegs on that one. So that, especially, oh no, it was the ball that I did that for. And the pieces got so thick with top coat that it became hard to put it together even again and have it match up. So
you need to do a little bit of filing to offset the additional thickness of the top coat.
a little bit, but that again, the appropriate thing to do, I've discovered, is take it down to smaller pieces and then just do your coat on this,
Right.
so that all the internal moving parts aren't getting jammed up with your extra coating and don't require extra sanding. Where was I going? 8. That's right. I was going to put another one of these extra weapon systems on the tail. Yeah, it turns out I was painting too many things. You also learn to recognize which parts are internal and will never be seen, and you can, maybe just prime, or even don't even prime those bits. Like for example, on this particular one, I would probably, if I were going to be painting this piece, these two sections separate into extras, and I wouldn't paint the inside of that because it's not at all exposed in its final version.
Right.
So it saves a little paint, it saves a little primer. It also saves you from having to put more stress on the pegs due to sanding or cutting or pulling apart. What I do need to get myself, though, is a separation tool because my fingernails are no longer up to the task. Just a way of putting some clean pressure against parts and having them come apart cleanly without marring the plastic or breaking the internal pegs, which can also happen quite easily if you're not careful. All right, that's a good extra weapons piece on the tail. Oh, when I see it that way, it's not good. That's off angle. Enough that I will notice that. I don't think anyone else would if they were just glancing at this on a shelf, which is where it's going to end up, but I'll know it's there, and all of you will know it's there. And just
Don't worry. Chat won't say anything. They'll keep your secret.
I think I'm happy with. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. There we go. That's perfectly straight. Oh! More water. Okay. Are you on there? I think you are. I think you're relatively straight. Yes. Okay. No more touchy of you. Good. And you know what? I think that... Do I have any low-hanging fruit to grab here before? Steppy's done. Does anyone... Let's see, number 6. Quick scan for 6. At this stage, it's honestly a case of, that's on the backpack. Okay. Let's clean up the top of our decal sheet here and call that a day, shall we? There. Let's clean this up a bit. And there. And And that's a lot less, a lot fewer decals on the sheet remaining. I'm looking forward to the next time we get to this project, because it's really, really coming together. Triangle point goes towards head. Always important to note your orientation. And one last dunk. Big sippy. Yeah, there's a reason that I consider decaling to be one of my favorite parts of the model building process, because it is just such a relaxing time that you don't need to worry about airborne solvents for. And the reward to effort ratio is very high in my opinion. I find it very difficult to understand the people who do not like this part of the process. Okay. You know, despite the number of swears that have escaped my mouth this particular stream. Does the back of the brush work any better? Oh, it does. But only slightly, and in the wrong direction. Okay, there we go. That's, well, that looks like it's in the right spot. Let's just barely touch it with a Q-tip. It has not gone anywhere. So that is going to do it, I think, for today's episode of Tinker Tailor Solder Fry. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here on a 45th birthday stream. We still got a little bit left to do in terms of the decaling, but I think the next time we sit down, it's going to be a little bit of decals and a lot of panel lining and a lot of panel line erasing. So stay tuned for that. But as I said, once again, thank you to you at home for your support, either at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun here in the chat, whether you're chatting, lurking, subscribing, or, of course, over at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Please continue your support there if you haven't, and if you can, we'd love to have you join up. Finally, once again, store.loadingreadyrun.com. We're having a big sale. I would encourage you to, even if you don't know if you want something, have a look. It's pretty cheap. Treat yourself. But I guess for this episode, for myself and Paul, thanks once again for watching. We'll see you in a fortnight. Never in Fortnite, ever forward, learning out of spite. Good night.